Hello, Brie. Welcome back to the Work-Life Harmony podcast. I'm thrilled that you are here again.
I'm thrilled too. I love being on your show. It's my favorite.
Well, I am excited. So listeners, if you missed our first podcast together a while ago, I will make sure we link to it in the show notes because Brie always pours in everything. But I wanted to have Brie back because we are approaching the annual Plan-A-Palooza planning event, which is the one time all year that I do this. And I've been very honest I was super thoughtful about, do I bring in guest experts? If so, who? Polled my audience of everybody that's been doing Plan-A-Palooza with me for the last 12 months. And actually at the top of the list was, out of all of the things not related to your calendar specifically, the top vote was around money and finances. And how do we handle planning, AKA budgeting, which, some people have a love-hate with that word, at a higher level with our finances when we're stepping foot into creating our plans for the year. Because a lot of things that show up in my plan for the year, I like to have a lot of fun. I love to travel. Well, guess what? That costs money. So there needs to be, we can't just throw these things out there, right? Without knowing, and how do I get there? What does that look like from a monetary standpoint? So I was like, well, then I will bring Brie into Plan-A-Palooza. And so I asked her to come back on the podcast for you guys to get a chance to meet Brie even before the event happens. So that's the backstory of why we're here today. Brie, do you want to give a little background about yourself for folks that do not know you yet? And then we'll jump in.
Sure. So I started going into finance after a decade of work in the nonprofit sector. And at first I was just a credentialed investment advisor. I sold stocks and bonds and mutual funds and, did FAFSA planning and nerdy things like that. But what I found in really working with clients was my clients were smart, successful, making good money, like members of the community, good parents, and they were coming in to see me with problems that were not able to be solved with better mutual fund choices. They were like, Brie, I got credit cards from my first marriage. I'm paying on my own student loans. These kids are about to go to college. I make a couple $100,000 a year and I have $300 in my savings account. What's going on here? And so at that point, all of my knowledge around money was really in the very practical, stock market based stuff. And so I started with very practical plans for my clients. I would make these gorgeous budgets, listen, I don't know if your listeners ever feel some kind of way about spreadsheets, but
Oh my God.
If they were ever those kind
I feel like that's date night for me.
I would make these sheets that included everything. And then my clients would come back 6-8 weeks later. I'd be like, how'd your budget go? And they'd be like, yeah, we didn't. We didn't do anything. Thank you for making this. And I was like, what do you mean? My little heart was just smashed. And so I started working with clients on habits and really reviewing their transactions, and that worked better. And then we started working on mindset, and that worked way better than just doing the habits and the plans. And then we started incorporating emotional intelligence into the mindset, into the habits, into the plans. And then things started really clicking, and I started really seeing my clients make massive amounts of progress financially, saving money like they've never had before, investing for the first time ever, having money to buy cars or put in new basements or, pay for college tuition for their kids, or everybody's got their own things that they're working on. And so then what I started to realize was that I love doing that kind of work with my clients, that work that you have to do before you're really ready to choose the best mutual funds. And so I left my book of business and I started Sheep to Shark about 5 years ago. And we make courses, we have a membership. I have some high-end consulting that I do for business owners. And that's Sheep to Shark in a nutshell.
Brie, and everything that you do, what I so appreciate about your approach to talking about money is, one, let's talk about money and not make it weird, right? Women have so many issues with that, but you have expertise, support, help for people, no matter where they are in their financial journey, whether it's someone who's never even thought about it, I kind of wanting to get my head around it, versus, hey, I'm already here and I want to level up to, this whole other world of lifestyle. Because so many people that I find when the people that I kind of look at or follow in the financial space tend to be so siloed into just this one thing, like, hey, I will tell you what mutual funds to done, or I will just show you how to get rid of your credit card debt, but then they don't teach how to prevent you from getting back into, all the pieces and parts. And so I think that you really provide such a necessary and unique approach to how you view money, because it isn't just about the numbers. And I do love numbers, but there is all the emotional and mindset work and habits and everything that goes with it. So I really appreciate all that you've put together.
Well, thanks. Yeah, the thing about it is it's never really the plan that's the issue. I mean, maybe in my entire career, I've seen it like once or twice where somebody literally couldn't figure out the math, but really, even then we're going to just call nonsense on that and be like, it was actually really something else they're stopping. Because it's just, money math is addition, subtraction, division. Like none of it's, we're not, what we said on we were together earlier this week. Like it's not,
we're calculus, folks.
Yeah, we're not doing quantum physics here. We're just
you can do it with the calculator app on your phone, like where let's call a spade a spade. So the Plan-A-Palooza event that we're gearing up to be doing is all around more those long-term strategic plans. And so many, I'm really wanting to help people understand the right way to go about looking at your next year when it comes to planning, knowing that the world is so crazy, right? And schedules are shifting and all of that. But there is, when it's done the right way, there is a level of strategic long-term planning that can completely transform your life. And so in the event, we're going to be I'm going to be kind of walking everybody through that. And what people are going to uncover, and always as part of my annual plans, is there are things that I have on my plan for 2023 that cost money and not just the regular monthly things. Like obviously I want to continue to have water and electricity and all that in my house. So I'm not talking about the recurring every monthly bills, but the vacations, the trips. Travel is like my love language. I love to travel. And, as we stand today, no one is paying me to travel or covering all of my expenses. So I would love for you to kind of share those five categories, right, of monies, and how we can think about those when it comes to that longer term planning. And what does that mean when we're looking at stuff that we're thinking about? Here are the things I want to do financially next year. Where can I start today to actually know that, what? I can actually make that trip next fall. I'm feeling confident the money's going to be there, even though it's not today.
Perfect. Yeah. So, in my work, giving clients budgets, what I came to realize a little bit after the fact is that we have mental accounting systems in our brain, like the way that our brain sees money. And mental accounting systems are incredibly flawed, and they really look at money in a way that is not actually how money goes. And so when we're working in a relationship with money, we want to I'm going to talk about the invisible system, and that is set up to like jive with your brain systems for mental accounting, which is how I see that it's more successful than a lot of other money management techniques. So I like to separate the money by purpose rather than by line item. And so when we look at the purposes for money, there's 5 main purposes that we really want to be looking for our household management system. So there's 3 different like flavors of savings, and then there's 2 ways to spend. So, and then we also want to put these accounts in order of like their priority. So the first place that we want our money to go when we're starting to make a plan about money is we want to pay ourselves first. And so this is a savings account. And most of like, if you're a W-2 worker, or I guess really, it's like going to be retirement funds. And depending on where you work, it's, most of us have access to workplace plans, 401ks or simples or SEPs or things like that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be for that, but generally your pay yourself first money is money that is going to grow. I call it your planting account. Like it's money that you're going to plant. It's money that's going to grow. It's not your emergency fund. It's not your rainy day money. It's not your vacation money. And we want to perpetually get in the habit of saving some of our income every single time we get paid into this type of account. And we really want it to become a habit where we're not even so much attached to the long-term goal of it, because the way that our brain kind of works is your subconscious brain lives like right in the here and now. So when we have a goal that's really far out in the future, your subconscious kind of like, wait, what? Today I was hoping for some sex and a chicken wing, and you want me to save money for 60 years down the road, and your subconscious brain is like, what? But when you build it into the habit, it becomes subconscious, and it's kind of just like brushing your teeth. Like, why do you brush your teeth every day? Is it for your long-term teeth health, or is it really, really, truly because you feel gross if you don't do it?
Yeah.
Probably because you
Did
feel
I ever
gross.
tell you about my starting my very first 401k?
No, tell me.
It was right out of college. So, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth and Megan graduated from college all those years ago, 401k. So of course I don't know anything about it. And thankfully my dad has always been like, he's my go-to for investment, all that. He studies it. He's super knowledgeable. So I'm, sitting down with my parents' first job, going through the benefit thing and all that. And so his number one thing is like, enroll in that 401k. And the money I was making was like barely covering expenses first job out of college. And so I, of course, got the spreadsheet out, and I'm sitting down with my dad and I'm like, I can't, I don't even have a penny to spare. Look at my budget. And he's like, Megan, you just have to invest for the company match. Like, that's free money, whatever. And I remember crying. I was like, I'm barely feeding myself. And so he calculated that it was $20 a month. If I could put $20 a month into my 401k, then I could start getting the company match and starting to see the results down the road. But even in the moment, I'm like, I can't. And so my dad, who probably doesn't listen to my podcast, but if you do, shout out to you, Dad. He probably doesn't even remember this. He said, I will hand you a $20 bill every month for the next year if you promise to enroll in your 401k and contribute $20 a month. Basically, I will pay that back for you. So I did. And I did that. I was with that job for a little over a year, and then I ended up getting another job, and that ended. But I will say, I go back and look at that very first $20 and what they look like now, almost 30 years later, it's mind blowing. But
Yeah.
the littlest amount, just the littlest amount,
Yeah. And I really love that you brought that up, because your dad kind of just helped to give you the confidence that you could do it. And so when I work with clients, like, the thing is, you have to start where you are. And so even if that means $20
a month,
and $20 now is worth something different than $20 a month was when dinosaurs were roaming the earth. So, it's just really important to get started. And what that does for you is, one, it changes your identity into an investor. You become an investor. You become you go from somebody who didn't have the capacity for really wealth building to somebody who is on her way to being a wealthy woman. And that identity shift, then you have skin in the game, you have money. So when it comes to building like wealth resonance, like understanding, like, you have something to care about, you have money to care about. And so like the conversations around like stock market or mutual funds or whatever become more
report and be like,
yeah,
dang, like I've forgotten about that money. And there it is. Who knew?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the first place you want your money to go. Then we're going to pay our bills, and that's very important. We're going to pay the mortgage and the electricity and the internet and all the things. Then the next place we want our money to go is the second of the three types of savings, and that's working capital. And so when it really comes to planning long-term thinking about money, I don't like for clients to have like emergency funds per se. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is, typically when we save for an emergency fund, there's a certain dollar amount that we're looking to get, and then we stop. We break the good habit, which is like something that we do not want to do. The second thing is, then we make a lot of just mundane financial things into an emergency. It adds a lot of stress and a lot of struggle and a lot of strife to our relationship.
You don't have money for those shoes. It's an emergency.
Well, yeah. But it's like when you have to break into your emergency fund, and then it always feels like being set back, because then you have to restart the habit and then redirect cash flow. So the way that I teach it is to have just a working capital account. And so when we start to look, we want to project out over the course of the next 12 months, really at a minimum. And we want to look for any irregular expenses, like I get my car taxes twice a year, or certain kinds of insurances. I also live in a place where we do heating oil in the winter, right? So like heating oil is a few $1,000s. And so you look at your irregular expenses and you start to total those up. Then you look for any foreseeable disasters. Like, am I going to need a down payment for a car this year? Like,
Like I'm driving a 12-year-old minivan. We're thinking about wanting to get rid of it. Yeah. So we got to think about that. Yeah.
Yep. So we just want to look at anything that's potentially, going to need to be repaired or replaced. Those are things we want to start to consider. Then we want to look for any family obligations. Like there was one year, three between my husband and I, 3 of our brothers got married in the same like 6-month period. So we knew in advance when we had to save some money for that, because we were in all the weddings, Texas trips, like there's a lot, wedding gifts. And then any self-care that you do that's not on a monthly or weekly, like it's not a super regular, but it's something that's really non-negotiable. All of those things is stuff that we want to start to look at and start to set that money aside. If you don't do that, then typically we just buy the things with the cash that we have, but that really leaves us for things that get to be bigger expenses. If you need a few $1,000s for something here or there, then typically that's usually what ends up on the credit cards. It's funny. So like credit card debt is a major topic in my work. It's something that people bring up all the time. And really, like, we may feel like our credit card debt is a symbol of like reckless spending or irresponsibility, but typically I find most credit card debt for very boring things. Like my dishwasher broke, or I didn't have money for back to school shopping. Yes. Yeah. And then we resent the things that like, then we're like, I didn't even want to buy a dishwasher. And it kind of changes the flavor of our relationship with the dishwasher itself, because then we're still paying for it. So when we set money aside for working capital, that helps, one, to build trust in ourselves and our relationship with money. And 2 is it's something that you're not going to stop doing. Like it's something that like you're going to build that habit, and it's going to be a lifelong habit, because as long as you're alive, you're going to have expenses that are going to be bigger than your monthly, that's part of the relationship with money. And then if you have had a relationship with debt that you don't like, this is the account that keeps you out of credit card debt. This is where you start to learn to have money. Right.
And I love your take on, I'd never really thought about that, because I know early in my years, I was like, oh, let me build my emergency fund. And like you said, as soon as I had it, then I stopped contributing to it. But then it's like when you had to use it, and I was like, oh crap, how do I get that back up? As opposed to now it's a constant, money is flowing in and out of it. And it's just part of your every day, every month life, instead of got it, it's gone, got it, it's gone.
And on an emotional level, money that we let stagnate becomes, it's almost like a financial constipation, even though that's probably the least classy way to think about it. But it's like,
that's what I love about you. But now we all get, like, everyone gets it as soon as you say that,
it really causes a lot of pain on the outflow. So like when we let the money stagnate, then like once you have that emergency fund, it becomes really painful to spend it. It becomes something that we feel like we've done something wrong, or we're bad at money, or we shouldn't. And it really, like, then that entire part of your relationship with money is painful. And the better we have a relationship with money, the more power we have to use it as a tool and wield it powerfully. And money's a big relationship in our life. I mean, really, money dictates where you live, what kind of schools you send your kids to, where you shop, what you eat, what kind of healthcare you get. Like money is money probably impacts 85-90% of the decisions you make on a day-to-day. And so
your relationships. I remember when my husband and I were getting married, that the gentleman that married us, we had to go do some like pre-marriage counseling. He's like, we're here to talk about the big 5, like one of the top 5 things that will cause angst in your marriage. And of course, money was right up there in that list of the top 5.
Yeah. Yep. It's a whole thing, because we also have a lot of junk that we've projected into our relationship with money. And that's mindset work, that's emotional work. And really, like, this is annoying to have to share, but money's a journey. Like it's an ongoing relationship. And so, sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to just fix my money mindset, or I'm going to get rid of this scarcity mindset, which, like, one, is literally not possible, because your brain registers scarcity if, like, your brain works. So if you're alive and you have a functional, operating organ up there, you're going to see and experience scarcity. Yeah. But it's like something that, you will make there's always a next level of progress. No matter how far you get, no matter how much work you do, there's always a next level of progress in that relationship with money. There's always like, next level income or intimacy or whatever else. And so, yeah, all super important. But when we start to have working capital, it helps us to kind of bring that preparation mindset out to a full year. And then we start to have money. And what we'll find is like our nervous system really calms down. Like we feel more calm, more safe, more secure in a relationship with money. And yes. And then when you have an emergency, even if it was something that wasn't necessarily on your working capital, like if it comes up, you still have the money and you have time to adjust and you have time to prepare. But being able to address something with, like, being able to solve a problem with money really gives you just so much more authority for navigating through your life. So it's really, it's both kind of boring and really juicy and exciting at the exact same time. Like, it's like, oh, I'm going to put money aside for snow tires in advance. Like when you're doing it, it's like, oh, you're not like thrilled about it. But then the day that you go to get your tires done and you just have money and you didn't have to worry about it. And you were just like, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks. Like, it's just like done. You're like, oh, you can, I feel like at first you can almost feel like the stress that would have been.
And the resentment I feel is gone when I have to air conditioners on the fritz. No one wants to buy. I mean, that's not a sexy way to spend money, right? But I'm not angry about it if the money is there as much as if it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Right.
Yeah. And then you have to sacrifice, or really cut back your lifestyle to have this thing. So it helps us also when we're saving in advance, it helps us to keep our lifestyle spending in check for what is actually like what's in the realm of what we actually can afford. You know what I mean? So that way we're not, most of the time it just ends up on the credit cards. Like if you need an air conditioner, you don't have the money and it's a necessary, I mean, you live someplace hot.
Oh, like, dear, hell yeah, I need an air conditioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a thing. So then we want to look at our important things, right? So our next place that we want our money to go, that fourth place is, for vacations or upgrades or whatever you decide is important for you. Like,
so I've got those trips I know I want to take. This is where that is now going to sit.
Yeah, we can start to set that aside. And I do like for all of these accounts to be separate because they really have a fully different purpose. Yes. And so we want to see like our working capital is for stuff that we need. And it's your money. If you want to transfer your money to spend your working capital on beer and peanuts, like it's your money, you're welcome to do it, but you're not going to do it accidentally. And I think that's really the main thing. So many of my clients are not reckless overspenders, but when we're not clear, we overspend because we're not clear. We haven't thought about all of the things we're going to need in the next 12 months. And so we overspend today because we have the resources today. And so it's just really like accidental. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that. And now I spent my money on, Chris Stapleton tickets, which I was actually just looking at yesterday. And, and now I don't have money for snow tires. And when we have what we want, but we don't have what we need, we feel incredibly unsafe in that relationship. So setting aside for the things that you prioritize, like I've had clients redo basements or buy lake houses or put in freshy new countertops or Botox or vacations or, I don't know, cheese trails. You can travel just to eat cheese, just so you know.
Get out of, I can combine two of my loves, travel and cheese.
Actually, I was thinking about coming to Asheville because I did hear that they had an Asheville cheese trail. Is this true?
I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. I will let you know.
All right.
I'm going to be checking that out. Cheese trail. Oh, that's good stuff.
Yes. And so that's important thing, since you get to see that money kind of, build up and then flow out, and then you get to do it again. And then you have your pocket money, which is like your gasoline, your groceries, anything you'd swipe your debit card for. And sometimes like you literally would transfer money from your working capital or from your important things to your checking accounts to spend it. Those other accounts would be savings accounts. And that's the place where you do want to have some adult autonomous spending money, where you're not like, hey babe, can I buy gas? text message emoji. Like we want to avoid really unnecessary, mundane, boring conversations about money with our spouse. Like we want to have the big talk. We want to have the juicy conversations. We want to address something if something does need to be addressed, but nobody wants to get a midday text message of, hey babe, can I get a sandwich? Like,
Yeah.
But when money is tight and we're sharing one bank account, that is totally marital communication. That really does happen.
Yep.
So when we set it up where, the adults have a autonomous spending money, and then you kind of manage that. And so the way that this breakdown helps so much is that way when you log into your bank accounts, you can very clearly see how much money you have to spend between now and the next time you get paid. And then that's a very small amount of the totality of your money that you can manage in the day to day. And it takes a lot of the other money off of your mental, like your mental space, because when we have mismanaged money, it takes up a tremendous amount of mental space, and that scarcity, that like working or reworking of numbers, the thinking about it, the problem solving while we're driving or doing something else or pouring our coffee, it literally reduces your intelligence by quite a bit, because it's like just a taxation on the glucose that's happening in your brain. Yeah. So it's like your brain is so busy worrying about money that it's like kind of missing out on other really probably more important things. So when we lay it all out in a way that kind of fits, just fits our mental accounting, it really helps to build those accounts, build trust with ourselves, watch everything grow, and then, really like start to get ahead, start to have money in bigger ways. And then like next level, like once you have everything that you need taken care of, that prepare account, that working capital, that's like a great place where we could stack some cash for like opportunities that come our way. Like you start getting to certain levels and people be like, hey, I have this great opportunity for like a vacation house and I'm looking for 3 people to go in on it. And if you have the money, that opportunity is available to you, but it does, we want to be prepared for opportunities at some level too.
Yeah.
But first we got to take care of like the things we need, and then we can, be prepared for opportunities. And that's just like the quick and dirty version of the invisible system and kind of how it works.
I love everything about that. And it's like, I look back on my mental self as it relates to money years ago to now that we actually have these accounts separated and all of that. And I can it felt like almost every day was looking at the bank, I'm running to the grocery store and I just bought groceries. Did I overspend? Did I stay in my budget for grocery? Like, I don't know, because it's just one lump of money, and you catch it at the right day and you're like, I'm a millionaire. You look at it at the wrong day and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to be kicked out of my house, right? Because if it's all lumped in there together, I had, me, I had the spreadsheets, I had all the spreadsheets, but there wasn't an easy way to have a snapshot at any moment in time to say, what's my money in constant flux versus what's saved versus what is sitting out there in that working capital for the non-recurring, but I know it's coming. And so the mental energy and the amount of time I wasted pulling up spreadsheets, replugging in numbers just to get the lay of the land, as opposed to now it's simply pull it up, all of those accounts in one view and to go, yeah, good.
Yeah.
Like, yep, the vacation money's there. And it took me a half a second instead of 5 hours of stress and digging around.
Yes. And I would tell you, so listen, I'm the type B personality, and I enjoy not keeping spreadsheets. And so this system works for the Bs, of the world, who are like, I do the math and then I put the money in there and then I know that it's going to be okay. And that is good enough for me. But if you are a type A, you can add some tracking to this to know kind of where you are.
Of course. Yes. Or a process of checking on it every week for like, I have my little money set aside on my little money time every week. And so I'm not knee deep in spreadsheets, but it's how I feel comfortable with my controlling tendencies of checking in,
Yes, I love that. And the thing about working capital is that, all right, listen, the first year you do the invisible system, the first time you do it, you're going to do your best and you're probably going to be wrong a little bit, and that's okay. And as you go, you can keep track, because there's going to be things that you just forget about.
Forgot.
Like, all right, like, so for instance, my family loves Halloween and we usually decorate for Halloween. And I didn't really realize that, like, it's not like a few dollars of decorations. There's usually, like, at least a few $100s of new decorations, or like if sometimes I have a party or whatever. I mean, there's always something fun happening. And when I really looked at it, I was like, oh, that should really go into working capital. So that way the week that Halloween is, I'm not buying groceries, because
to have your
buying, going through my pantry, so that way I could buy myself skeletons at Target or whatever weird thing I'm going to be up to. And then you just adjust and you put it in for next year, and you'll find that the universe, that the law of attraction, when you start really taking kind of power and taking control in your relationship with money, you'll see that the money responds. And it always happens in ways that sound real one-off, but I've been doing this so long with so many clients that all of the I have come to expect kind of weird and unexpected things to happen with people in their relationship with money as they start to do this work, and they start to organize it, and they start to really care for their money and do this. I've had parents pay the kids tuition, or a rich aunt gave one of my clients enough to pay off all of their credit card bills, or somebody else gave somebody a 0%, an aunt, it was an aunt gave somebody a 0% loan. I've seen clients where one person does all of this and gets their relationship with money better. The spouse gets a $25,000 raise. And
it works. I mean, it
yeah.
really. Yeah. And so what we're going to be doing, I wanted you guys to kind of get a flavor of, starting with this invisible system. So one of the things that we're going to be doing with Plan-A-Palooza is you guys are going to be learning more from Brie, but then I'm going to be saying, okay, based on this, if getting this invisible system is in your plan for 2023, what does that look like? How do we make sure it happens? Because we all hear this, right? And we're like, this is the year I'm gonna, but then January comes, it's cold, and then it's February, and then it's March, and then it's April. It's well, I've already missed the first quarter. So we're going to make sure, for those of you that are wanting to get a really good foundation set up prior to January 1, 2023, as it relates to planning around finances, so that you feel good about vacations, you feel good about all that, we're going to be really getting a much deeper dive in the Plan-A-Palooza. So I can't wait. Now I'm going to be sharing a link for those of you that want to get started right now. I've got a link in the show notes to Brie's Find Your Bleed course. Give everyone the quick 30-second, because I think this is a great place for everybody to start.
Yes, Find Your Bleed is a really beautiful place to start. And basically what we start to do is have financial intimacy. And it's the step that we would actually take before we get into the invisible system, because in the invisible system, there's an assumption where your money is kind of directed where you want it to go, which means that you have to have already stopped putting it where you don't want it to go anymore. And so in Find Your Bleed, I teach you how to track your money. And in that, I teach it's there's money tracking software, and you may already be doing that, but I teach how to read that and really what you're looking for in your own transactions. And then we go through and I teach you ways to eliminate waste, what to look for and how to do it. I teach you ways to increase your efficiency, to free up time, money, and mental energy all at the same time, to just have a more streamlined life. I teach you ways to eliminate low joy purchases, which are generally rooted in some sort of emotional spending, and how to really address the underlying emotional need rather than just using money to fulfill it. Most of the time when we're using money to fill an emotional need, if we're not very intentional around that, it's like a little band-aid, then we have to do it again tomorrow. So we talk about all of those things, and it's a quick course. I mean, it's $39. The return on investment you will get literally within probably 3 hours of finishing the content.
Just do it.
It's really a no-brainer for just how to look at things, how to see things, how to and we talk about changing habits and how to do that. And it's really just a really great it just helps to
I think
have
it's a foundation everyone should
Yeah.
have. And what I love about it is, for those of you that have been in my top program before, you will see it mirrors exactly where we start in the top program with regarding our time. It mirrors exactly where Brie starts us with our money. Because with the time, we have to basically, the whole first part of that program is finding your bleed with time. We need to understand first, we need to track it. You need to track it the right way. And then you need to know what you're looking for as you tracked it to identify where we can eliminate waste with time. It's the same principles, but presented so beautifully. So I would encourage you guys to go take the time and go through it. Like Brie said, it'll pay for itself in a matter of a day.
Oh yeah, it's
because
so
you'll find a
fast.
bleed, you'll
Yeah.
put the Band-Aid on it and you will have made back your investment. It's awesome.
And we see clients literally saving tens of thousands of dollars in a year just by going through this.
Yeah.
And then also having more time. And a lot of times too, we see clients really upgrade their levels of self-care. Like I once had a client who was like, I like to go to the grocery store 5 days a week because I like to touch the lemons. It's how I care for myself. And I'm like, what a low grade level of self-care there, friend. Like, let's stop spending our money on this and get you a massage from time to time.
Yeah.
Get you a babysitter, or, something like, although there is a certain level of satisfaction in going and looking at all the beautiful produce, but
I'd rather not do it in a grocery store. Thanks.
Yeah. It's just, it's a thing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. I cannot wait to dive in more with you inside of Plan-A-Palooza. It's always a treat to have you here. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.